It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning broadcast covering fishing, hunting, and outdoor recreation throughout the great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, producing a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter, and by Loophole, America's optical authority. Also sponsoring the show every week is Shiloh Inn & Suites, offering affordable excellence throughout the West. Mardon Resort, the place to fish and hunt in eastern Washington, and the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce, where nature is on display in Northeast Oregon all year long. And now, let's head into the field with your host, John Cruz.
The weather is changing. It's getting a little bit wetter out there. It's certainly getting colder out there. It's that time of year where curling up next to the fire with a good book becomes very appealing. And I've been nursing a wound, as some of you know, had surgery to my right arm. So I've had some opportunities to do just that. And I have discovered a fantastic read. It's called Outdoor Chronicles. The author is Jerry Hamza. It's his first book, and it's one of the best outdoors books I've ever read. Collection of short stories where basically it's insights into the human condition with the backdrop being hunting and fishing. We're actually going to have Jerry on the show to tell us more about this book, and I think if you get it, it comes out in about 10 days. You're going to love it as much as I do. Again, that's Outdoor Chronicles. Jerry Hamza is the author, and he'll be joining us on the show. Veterans Day just happened, and as always, we salute our veterans, and we're going to tell you about a special place for Iraq and Afghanistan deployed veterans. It's called the Divide Camp. It's located near a little tiny place called Imnaha in northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Julie Wheeler is the president of Divide Camp, and she's going to tell you about all the outdoor recreational activities that take place there just for veterans. We're talking hunting, we're talking fishing, we're talking rafting, and more. It's a great opportunity for our vets to heal and get outdoors at the same time. Another friend of veterans, especially special operations soldiers, is Bill Harsey, the world-renowned knife maker from Cresswell, Oregon. Turns out he has teamed up with Columbia River Knife and Tool and Ruger to design several high-quality and affordable knives that are hitting the stores right now. Bill's going to join us to tell you more about them. We've got a whole slew of fishing and hunting reports and some wildlife watching opportunities for you too this week. And Lance Mers is back for another extended Max Minute focused on walleye fishing. We've also got our Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week, your chance to win the $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. And speaking of Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got more information about that chili cook-off taking place at the East Wenatchee store November 21st. I'm going to be a judge there, and if you like deep fried turkey and if you like chili, you might want to show up. There's going to be some available for you to eat there. Going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of giveaways too. But before we go any further, David Sparks joins us for another edition of Sportsman Spotlight, brought to us every week by the Northwest Ag Information Network. This week, David's sharing some research into training working dogs and the importance of training those dogs early for success.
Training your dog early. David Sparks with Sportsman Spotlight. Hunters, if you use a dog, listen closely to this. A dog's breed can determine how well it follows human commands, according to a new study from Oregon State University that found that dogs bred for predatory traits are better at following some human gestures. OSU tested 3 breeds of dogs used for specific purposes: hunting, herding, and livestock guarding. Dr. Monique Udell, an animal scientist at OSU and lead author of the study, said that this may allow us to make a better placement, ownership, and training decisions in the future. We can set dogs up to succeed by capitalizing on each breed's inherent strengths instead of treating all dogs as if they came from the same mold. Dr. Udell says that even though specific dogs are pre-wired for certain behaviors, the earlier you get to training, the better the results.
You take hunting breeds, and they have this preparation genetically to engage in these sorts of behaviors, even without training. But they do still have to be exposed to the right types of things. For example, what would eventually be a prey or something that they'll have to chase later in life. They need that exposure early in life, fully develop that capacity. If you want them to be an active hunting dog, certainly breeding is helpful, but you'd also want to get the training started early, or at least the exposure to the types of activities that they'll be engaged in later in life early.
So if you want to be able to say that dog can hunt, get him to school early. This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
For over 30 years, the Ag Information Network of the West has been providing news and information for the ag industry. Agriculture is the most important industry in the world, and the Ag Information Network of the West gives you updates on all aspects with local producers, regional organizations, and worldwide updates. From major crops like wheat, cattle, and corn to specialty crops like apples, hops, and mint, the Ag Information Network of the West reports on the stories that mean the most to you. Online at aginfo.net and on Facebook and Twitter, get the ag news you need on the Ag Information Network of the West. Take the Northwest Ag Information Network with you. The aginfo.net website is now mobile friendly. Grab your smartphone and type in www.aginfo.net and get up to date on the latest news from the ag industry. Check out the latest spotlight stories, weather, market information, and lots more on your iPhone or Android smartphone. Be sure and check in each day for the latest updates from the Ag Information Network, now completely mobile friendly at www.aginfo.net.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after, whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Holidays are coming up quick. It's a time that a lot of people like to get a good book and snuggle next to the fire for a good read. Well, I have found a great book for just that very thing. It's called Outdoor Chronicles, True Tales of a Lifetime of Hunting and Fishing. It's written by Jerry Hamza, and Jerry is with us to tell us more about it. Jerry, great book. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for enjoying my book. That makes me feel good.
Jerry, I've always been a sucker for Ernest Hemingway and the Nick Adams stories, and I just love short stories themselves, especially when they tie into the outdoors. And what you've done with this book is just amazing to me, because you have these short stories. You know, on the surface, they're about fishing, they're about hunting, whether it be for steelhead or smallmouth bass or hunting for grouse or bow hunting for deer. But then you get into the story, and it's a lot deeper. You actually go into the human condition, so to speak, in each of these short stories. It's not really about the fishing or hunting at all, is it?
No. The fishing and hunting is a backdrop to stories about life.
And something else I just love, Jerry, I can't believe that this is your first book. I mean, folks, I am not kidding here. This is the best book I've read in a long, long time. Jerry, you just hit it out of the park with this one.
Well, thank you. I tried to write a book that would be fun to read, that anybody could read. What I'm finding out is that even though sportsmen are the ones who I've given it to read, I'm getting calls from wives and daughters saying, I didn't know that the outdoors could be like. And so it's a lot of work went into it, but it was the right kind of work where it comes from the heart.
Oh, I can tell. I mean, that definitely shines through. Something else that's interesting to me, Jerry, is your background. It's not the traditional outdoor writer's background that lends itself to this book. I'm going to read from a letter that you sent me here. So, folks, listen to this. Management and good friend to George Carlin, spent 30 years on the road with him. President of the Cat Fanciers Association. You know, these are not normally things I see as a pedigree for people who write outdoors books.
Well, what they enabled me to do in every instance was they moved me around a lot. And wherever I went, I either packed rods or bows. And so I am lucky enough that I got to hunt and fish the whole planet. And that gives you an awful lot to think about and write about.
What did you do for George Carlin exactly?
I was part of his management. I would go everywhere he went for 28 years. We spent more time with each other than we do with our families. I'd go and help set up the concerts and do box office settlements and things along those lines.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Jerry Hamza about his brand new book, Outdoor Chronicles, True Tales of a Lifetime of Hunting and Fishing, some fantastic short stories. And Jerry, I want to quote a couple of things here that just kind of speak to how it's not necessarily a hunting and fishing story. There's a story called The Dinner Rush, and I just love this part where you actually have a cabin that's overlooking this fantastic pool. And you actually say, and I'm quoting from the book here, "This is one of the most famous salmon pools in the world. I watch guys fish it from my porch after a long day of bass fishing. I know, I get it all the time. I never fished the stream. I think part of it is because I like solitude. The bigger part of it is that I really dislike Orvis assholes. It is to the point I avoid conversations with them when I can. I know they mean well, but so did Stalin. Where did that little nugget come from?
It's kind of funny because I've been fly fishing for a long time, and I always couch the history of fly fishing. There was this wonderful book written by McLean called The River Runs Through It, and then Robert Redford made a really good movie about it.
Yes.
And I call that story A River Ruined It. and because it was at that point, the yuppie hordes that overgraze everything, they're looking for their soul. So when they find something that they might have a soul in, they rush to that. And one of them, after the movie, was fly fishing. Well, Orvis took full advantage of the situation and then ended up commercializing and incorporating fly fishing. And to be honest with you, I resented them from it. And just a little funny aside, there was a chapter to this book. It was called A River Ruined It, which really was a very social introspective about how that whole thing affected, a quirky little sport. But my publisher wouldn't print it because they also do print words for Orvis, so prove me wrong.
Well, at least we got to hear the backstory. I appreciate that. That's just one of the things you talk about here. I love the story that you have about smallmouth bass in 3 parts, especially since I'm a guy who also loves fishing for bass on small waters in a canoe. It's just a lot of fun. And again, getting back to the social commentary, the human condition, I'm going to read again from this, folks. It's just really, really telling. As a parent, you naturally go with the methods the previous generation used on you. It really didn't matter how bad life screwed you up. If you look close enough, you could identify some families by their particular psychoses. Sending my children to their room for eternity was akin to sending Briar Rabbit to the briar patch. In the end, I had to adjust and banish them to the outdoors. Naturally, they were horrified. I recall watching one of my daughters endure the horror of her punishment outdoors on a swing. I love this. When she noticed me watching, she made a point to come off the swing and tell me what a terrible time she was having. In the end, she became a tree hugger. I'm not sure what the moral of that story is. Good stuff.
That's just a fun story. I raised 3 girls, and so it was there's always lessons in trying to turn them into tomboys. But the thing about my stories is I think what they really are about is the human condition.
I agree.
And so, that's the thing that unifies us all. Politicians and corporations, they try to break us apart. They try to keep us separated by our differences. But the truth is we have way more in common than we have apart.
You are right about that, Jerry. And again, I'm only halfway through this book, and I'm like enjoying it like you enjoy a fine meal, taking just a few bites at a time and savoring each one of these stories. Again, it's just a fantastic book. And again, it's Outdoor Chronicles, folks, True Tales of a Lifetime of Hunting and Fishing with Jerry Hamza. This is your first book. Did you at least write articles for magazines or any of that? Or did you just decide, I'm going to write a book and put yourself away and did kind of like Norman McLean with The River Runs Through It and boom, in late middle age, here's my first book?
Well, here's the thing. I had always wanted to be a writer. And about 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I said to myself, if I make it, and I know this is such cliche bull, but it affects us all sort of the same. I said, if I make it, I'm going to do the things I want to do. And so that's what I did. I sat down and I wrote the book. And in a series of short stories, I would send some out to publishers, like at the outdoor magazines. The problem with the outdoor magazines today is the same problem we have in the media and everything. Everybody wants short sound bites, so they try to convert, 7,000 word stories into 700 words.
Right.
That's
so
hard
true.
to do. But luckily, I entered Prose to Poetry, which is got some Edgar Allan Poe stuff in it, and it's about a trip I took to northern Canada alone. I entered it in the Robert Traver writing contest, and it won the contest. And so, luckily, Fly Rod and Reel published it without cutting it too much.
Well, there you go. And that, by the way, is the first story you're going to read in this book. Jerry, we're running out of time, but folks, again, I'd really recommend this for a winter read or a holiday gift. It's Outdoor Chronicles, True Tales of a Lifetime of Hunting and Fishing by Jerry Hamza. Jerry, where can people get this book, which is just coming out in like a week from now.
Yeah, the release date is November 24th. If you can wait that long, it'll be in your bookstores, Barnes and Noble, and the others. I'm not really endorsing anybody. You can go online and get it at your local bookstores. We'll order for you if they don't have it. And if you want to, I have a website coming out very shortly, jerryhamza.com, and you can order it off my website, and I will sign it and annotate it any way you'd like within reason.
Oh, that's fantastic. So jerryhamza.com, Hamza spelled Hamza. Of course, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and go through your local bookstore. But again, this is a great book that you are going to enjoy, and anyone you give it to as any sort of outdoorsman is going to enjoy it as well. Jerry, again, congratulations, and thanks for sharing your time with us on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
And thank you for having me. Tight lines, everybody.
It's a great time to go fishing, and whether you're heading to the lake for trout, to the saltwater for salmon, or fishing the Columbia for Chinook or steelhead, The Real News has got you covered. The columnists at The Real News are just like you, die-hard anglers. Better still, they share their expertise to help you have a great time on the water. The Real News prides itself on being Washington's only sport fishing newspaper. Look for your copy at local sporting goods retailers or subscribe online at therealnews.com.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time again for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us again, Lance Mers from Max Lure Company. Lance, we talked walleye fishing last week, but we can't just stop with walleye fishing on the Missouri River in Montana, because there's really some great walleye fishing going on this fall at two eastern Washington lakes, Banks Lake and Potholes Reservoir. And some dandy fish have been taken. In September, there was a 13-plus pounder that was caught by Max Pro Guide Shelby Ross, or I should say one of his clients in the boat. And I've heard some good reports from Banks Lake, too.
Absolutely. The walleye are putting their feed bags on right now, so they're going to strike at anything. So if you want to get some fishing in and take the kids out and do that and have them have a good time, go walleye fishing.
Well, I see that you brought one of my favorite walleye lures today, the Wally Pop. Tell our listeners a little bit more about that.
Well, it's something that we have in our arsenal for a very long time, but I just want to remind your listeners of how effective this lure is. It is called the Wally Pop. It's tournament proven by, professional anglers, but it's got surgical tubing. It's got a pill float inside of it. It allows buoyancy to keep it up off of the bottom. You can put scent in there. It's going to hold scent. It's got a smile blade on top of it. So you're going to get that constant spinning action in the water. The hooks are spaced evenly apart specifically for walleye, or you can catch trout or bass. It doesn't really matter.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Wally Pop and the Double Whammy are my two go-to lures for walleye, especially at Potholes Reservoir. And folks, Banks Lake, too, is another great place to go. So wherever you're fishing for walleye this fall, consider picking up a few of the tried and true Wally Pops from Max Lure Company. You'll likely find them at your favorite sporting goods store. But if you can't, just go online. What's the website again?
It's www.maxlure.com.
That's maxlure.com, M-A-C-K-S, lure.com.
I'm Bob Loomis, and I fish for walleye. Sometimes when I'm out on the water, I feel like a destroyer captain hunting for targets with my electronics. I'm not hunting submarines, though. I'm hunting fish, and when I find that big one on the fish finder, I want to make sure she's going to bite. That's where the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig from Max Lure comes in. The Smile Blade spins and flashes at ultra-slow speeds, and the one-of-a-kind red hook keeps that bait moving in a way the fish can't resist. It's the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig, only from Max Lure.
Tired of the same old fishing hole? Then head to Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Enjoy a weekend on the glacial waters of Wallowa Lake, where you can troll for the deep water excitement of kokanee or cast your line for some trout fishing fun. Bring your float tube or canoe and enjoy fishing in some of Wallowa County's small lakes. Or don your waders and step into the clear waters of the Wallowa, Imnaha, or Grand Ronde rivers. Early to bed, early to rise, fish all day, and there'll be no need for lies when you fish the waters of Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Visit us online at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Fishing fun and adventure is waiting for you in sunny Baja, Mexico. The trips are offered by The Real News, and you will be spending 6 nights and 5 days on the East Cape. Find out more about the Baja Amigos and Baja Heroes trips by calling 425-334-8966. 425-334-8966. That's 425-334-8966 for Baja Amigos and fishing fun in Mexico. back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Every Veterans Day, as longtime listeners know, we always include something for our vets that have served, and this weekend is no exception. We're talking to Julie Wheeler. She is the president and founder of Divide Camp, located in northeastern Oregon. That is a very special place for our veterans to go and enjoy the outdoors and to heal. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John.
Julie, this is a fairly new thing, Divide Camp. What's it all about?
Well, we have a 40-acre piece of property in a beautiful, beautiful part of the Wallowa Mountains. And our mission here is to honor the service of our veterans and to give back to them for what they've given for us, and also to provide some healing. We all believe that nature is a powerful healer, and this is a great place to do that.
So, folks, this is specifically for veterans who have served in combat post 9/11. So, vets who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan primarily. And this is a place where they can go enjoy outdoor recreation, everything from horseback riding to camping to hiking to backpacking to rafting to hunting. It's all right there, and it gives them a chance to bond and a chance to recover. But a question I have for you, Julie, is that you and most of your staff live in southern Oregon, but the camp is in Wallowa County in northeast Oregon. Why is that?
Well, my parents actually lived in southwest Oregon, down in Jackson County, and they hunted up here for many years. And they purchased this piece of property in the 60s, and my dad started an outfitting and guiding business here. So he passed away in 91, and after years of deterioration of cabins and so forth, we just made a decision that this really needed to be utilized and that would be the best use for the property.
So how many cabins are there, and is there a lodge as well?
We have what we call a lodge. It's just a large cabin, and altogether we have 5 cabins. We can sleep comfortably about 20 folks, but we don't normally do that unless it's a volunteer work party or something. We prefer to have small groups, so we strive for 5 to 7 vets at a time and 3 or 4 staff while they're here.
Let's talk about some of the things vets have done at Divide Camp over the last year. Why don't you just run through some of the activities and where they're taking place?
Well, the first activity we did this year was in June. We had a group of 4 vets that we sent on a fly fishing trip through a local guide service, Winding Waters River Expeditions, and they went down the Grand Ronde River and learned how to fly fish. And actually, I think we might have some new fishaholics as a result of it. Yeah, that was a very successful trip. We also had an opportunity to do a female vet's writing workshop this summer and brought in a writing instructor from the Portland area, and that was very successful. And I think we'll do more of that in the future because they can just stay here at camp.
Sure.
And do the workshop. Then we also had our first archery group, so we have bow hunters here in September. And we're learning a lot. This was our first year, and I think the guests that we had this year were all extremely appreciative, and we're just going to keep trying to do more trips and a wider variety.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're talking with Julie Wheeler. She's the founder and president of Divide Camp. It's located in northeast Oregon in Wallowa County in some beautiful wilderness, and it's a place where our veterans can go outside and do some fun things outdoors and help heal from the wounds of war in the process. Julie, what kind of feedback are you getting from the veterans who have been attending?
Oh, it's amazing. We hope that they can all come back, too. It's not like a one-time thing. And our long-term goal is that our camp would be actually for vets and run by vets. So as they come and spend time here, we're, just trying to figure out who might be a long-term participant. Right now we have, actually our very first vet guest who came in 2013, it now serves on our board of directors. And one of our guests we had here last year is now our Washington State liaison. So he works to get the word out to the vets in the state and also put together our vendor booth at the Sportsman Show this year. And he's just helped us in a lot of ways. So that's our goal, is to find different vets throughout the Pacific Northwest that can be a part of our organization and just keep it moving forward.
Well, I love it. Absolutely love it. Another question for you. I know this is going to be deeply personal to you. Are there any particular stories from the last year that have really stood out in terms of impactful stories where you can just tell that this has really been important to a veteran who's attended?
Absolutely. We have two that are, I don't know, I guess like they're the poster child for what it is we're trying to do here, in that their lives completely changed after they spent time at camp. And I think for one of them particularly was kind of on the brink of suicide. I don't know how many of your listeners would realize this, but we are still averaging about 22 suicides a day in our veteran population.
Wow.
And that's the underlying core of our mission here, and a strong value of ours is that each of those lives are valuable and we need to save who we can. And that's one of our missions here. But truly, a couple of our visitors have done complete turnabouts in their lives, and that's what we want to see.
Absolutely, Julie. This is just great stuff. If there's a post 9/11 vet listening right now here in the Northwest, how can they find out more about attending Divide Camp?
I would encourage them to go on our website, which is dividecamp.org, just DIVIDE, dividecamp.org. And on the front page, we have an application they can fill out. They can snail mail it or email it to me, and then someone from our staff will get in touch with them. I did, John, want to add, too, we've been super blessed by some organizations that support us, and we have 2 action track chairs, which are the track, kind of a rugged wheelchair that has tracks that can take a person through the woods and snow and everything. And we encourage people with mobility issues to also apply because we want to get them out there and take them hunting, take them fishing. This year we had a veteran guest from Washington who had lost his right arm in Iraq, and he was actually able to shoot a bow again because a local person was able to create an adaptation so he could shoot his bow with his mouth, and that's just opened up a whole new life for him. So we encourage people with limitations to contact us too, because we want to help.
And one other thing, does it cost anything for veterans to attend outside of getting themselves to the general area where you're at?
No, actually, and that's glad you brought that up. We are covering all of their expenses once they get here. Now, this last year we paid a non-resident fees for hunting a license tag, and we're able to work with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. They will not be charged the non-resident fees in the future. They'll just be paying the same as our resident fees. So we want them to be able to come here, and we'll take care of everything when they're here.
All right, Julie, we're running out of time, but folks, the place is called Divide Camp. It's located in Northeast Oregon. It's a special place for our veterans to get outside and help them heal from the wounds of war. And this is an organization that needs some help. This costs money to make all of this happen. So if you are inclined to help, please go to their website. It's dividecamp.org. Dividecamp.org is their website. There's a link there where you can donate as much as you can, and I know they'll appreciate it, and I know the veterans who are taking advantage of this will appreciate it as well. Julie, thanks for all you're doing to help our vets. Really appreciate it, and thanks for sharing your story on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the time.
Wake up to winter in Wallowa County. Grab your camera and don your skis for some Nordic skiing adventure at Salt Creek Summit or Wallowa Lake. Or spend the day on the family-friendly slopes of Fergie Ridge. Or slip into a set of skates and enjoy some time on the ice at our outdoor ice rink. Need to warm up? Then grab a cup of coffee or hot chocolate at one of our fine coffee and confectionery shops. And when evening comes, enjoy some of Wallowa County's fine dining and gaze at the stars before you dream of tomorrow's adventures. Your winter adventure begins at www.wallawacountychamber.com.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
Wetlands are some of the most important ecosystems on Earth, but our wetlands are quickly disappearing. Find out how you can help. Join Ducks Unlimited today.
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and it's time again for news and reports from the field. Brought to you every week by Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir, where the walleye fishing is still great. And you know what? You can catch them trolling spinners and crawlers, shad wraps, or even using blade baits. Bass action on the face of O'Sullivan Dam continues to show some nice bass up to 5 pounds. There's also bullheads and catfish being caught, kind of odd for this time of year. In fact, a channel cat weighing 12 pounds was caught out of Frenchman's Wasteway. If you don't have a boat, just go to the dock at Mardon because crappie anglers are doing well, and they're also catching bass, bluegill, perch, and even a few walleye. Don't forget to bring your shotgun because waterfowl hunters have been enjoying a fast early morning shoot on Frenchman's Wasteway as well as the sand dunes of Potholes Reservoir. Goose hunting is picking up as well. New birds are moving into the area on a weekly basis, and there's a lot of food and lots of open water in the area. Find out more about booking your cast and blast getaway in the Columbia Basin by going to mardonresort.com. That's mardonresort.com, where the fish bite, but we don't. We've got an Avery Pro Staff report for you duck and goose hunters out there. Turns out the cackler goose migration is in full swing in southwest Washington, but duck hunting has been slow there and also slow for Avery Pro Staffers hunting for ducks on the Pend Oreille River near the border of northeast Washington and Idaho. Hopefully, the cooler weather we've been seeing will push some birds down soon. Turning to fishing, Idaho Fish and Game reports steelhead catch rates are picking up and there's plenty of exciting fishing left to do. Steelhead fishing is unique because anytime you get a fish with less than 20 hours of effort is considered pretty good. Angler reports ending October 25th show catch rates of 6 hours per fish on the snake, which is really good, 10 hours per fish on the little salmon, 10 hours per fish on the Clearwater from the mouth up to Orofino, and 14 hours per fish on the Salmon River from the Middle Fork upstream to the North Fork, and still not so good, 20 hours per fish on the salmon from Whitebird Creek upstream to the Little Salmon. I called Nate Luther, owner of Nate Luther's Guide Service, who was actually fishing the Clearwater when I called. He confirmed the fishing has been good there. As for tactics, Nate says anglers fishing plugs have been outfishing those who are drifting bait on the Clearwater. Limits on the snake, salmon, and little salmon are 3 per day and 9 in possession. Season keeps going until December 31st, so get out there and have fun. If you're in western Washington, especially around Puget Sound, chum salmon are present, and they're moving up rivers right now. Popular chum salmon fishing spots include the Hood Sport Hatchery area of Hood Canal and the mouth of Kennedy Creek in Totten Inlet. The Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife reports other areas where anglers can find chum salmon include the Dosey Wallops and Duckabush rivers in Jefferson counties. Heading further north, good bets in coming weeks include Point No Point off the north end of the Kitsap Peninsula and Possession Bar south of Whidbey Island. We got good news out of northwest Montana, where Fish, Wildlife, and Parks officials report whitetail deer harvest remains strong. At the 6 Northwest Montana check stations through Sunday, November 1st, a total of 5,600 hunters were checked with 328 whitetail deer. 243 of those were bucks, 38 muleys, and 35 elk for a 7.2% rate for hunters with game. This compares to a 6.3% rate of hunters with game last year. Elk hunters are also busy in Oregon this week. If you haven't bagged one this year, though, and want assurances they do exist, I've got a couple places for you to go where you can at least watch them. You can't hunt them, but you can watch them. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife says Jewel Meadows Wildlife Area in northwest Oregon is one place to go. Elk viewing has been good there. The breeding season or the rut's winding down, and elk have been staying out in the open fields a little bit longer during the day. They're visible most mornings and evenings. Good places to look are the Fish Hawk Tract along Highway 202 and the Benecke Tract along the first 1.5 miles of Benecke Creek Road. Another option for you is the Dean Creek Elk Viewing Area right outside of Reedsport. I've been there, seen a ton of elk, and you see them pretty close up at times as well. So whether you're a hunter or just enjoy seeing these majestic animals, get on out there in Oregon and go see some elk. If you like spending time outdoors, meeting new people, learning about bald eagles, salmon, the Skagit River, the North Cascades, might want to consider becoming an Eagle Watcher volunteer. The Forest Service is looking for volunteers who are willing to go ahead and staff information stations near eagle viewing areas along the Skagit River and look at eagles through spotting scopes while educating the public about bald eagles. Applications are accepted on a first-come, first-served basis. Contact the Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest Office in Everett for further details. Next on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we get to talk to a man I have a great deal of respect for. His name is Bill Harsey. He crafts some really high-quality blades from his shop in Cresswell, Oregon, and he is teamed up with Columbia River Knife and Tools out of Tualatin, Oregon, and Ruger, because CRKT has introduced an exclusive line of Ruger-branded knives designed by some of the finest knife designers in the world. One of those men who designed some of those knives is Bill Harsey. Bill, congratulations. I just saw these knives in Sportsman's Warehouse. They look great.
John, thank you so much, and it's great to speak with you again.
Now, Bill, you were responsible for designing 4 knives in this line, and folks, there's a lot more than 4 knives, but let's talk about the 4 you designed. The first one that stands out is the Go and Heavy knife. It's a folding knife. Tell our listeners more about it.
That knife came about, there are 2 sizes of that. There's a reasonable size, and then there's the large size. And the large size is a 5-inch blade. But there was a background to this. There was a time when I was designing folding knives which could do the job of a fixed blade when folded, but would be wearable on a belt, especially if a military troop was on board a helicopter and didn't want a lot of gear hanging down and getting in the way of other stuff. So I had started a series of large folding knives, and that is where this one came from. It does have kind of a unique handle pattern and shape, which is milled out of solid aircraft aluminum and then anodized black. And it looks like it would be difficult to hold on to, but it's absolutely not. We've got all the radiuses in the right places so you don't hurt your hand.
All right, so that's actually 2 of them, folks. It's the Go and Heavy, that's the 5-inch drop point blade, and then the Go and Heavy Compact with the 3-inch drop point blade. You also designed another folding knife that just looks downright cool. It's called the All Cylinders, and it has a unique revolver cylinder-style pivot point. Tell our listeners about this.
Well, it's again, that's from the group of strong folders that I've designed, and I did this one for Columbia River Knife and Tool and Ruger. It has a full bolster, which actually adds strength to a typical folding knife frame. We've got a micarta handle. It's all stainless steel fastener construction. You're making me talk about these knives, John. This is hard. I usually just make them.
That's okay. But folks, again, it's that revolver cylinder style pivot point. It just looks awesome on this knife. Trust me on this. We're running short on time, but I've got to talk about my favorite knife, the fixed blade hunting knife called the Accurate. I just saw that and fell in love with it.
Have you had one in your hands yet, John?
No, it was in the package. I couldn't get it out of the package without getting in trouble in the store. They want you to pay for those things first.
Oh, that's okay. You're John Cruz. You can do whatever you want at a store.
Thanks, Bill. Go on. Tell our listeners about the Accurate.
So what I wanted was a very competent blade grind. There are 2 different blade grinds with that knife: a traditional drop point blade, kind of in the Bob Loveless tradition, and then what's called a lift point or a trailing point blade, which is a little bit pointier, more like a boning knife, if I can make reference. But the critical part of that knife is the type of over-molded rubber handles we use and the ergonomics, so that when you grab that knife, like say in darkness or without seeing it, one knows by the feel of the handle exactly where the edge is.
Oh, nice. I like that. Another thing about all of these knives that CRKT has introduced as exclusive lines for Ruger is that they're affordable. I couldn't believe the price point, thinking to myself, geez, I can get a Bill Harsey knife for something I can actually afford. That was awesome. Now, you can find these in Sportsman's Warehouse stores. I know that for a fact because I walked in and saw one just a couple days ago. In fact, saw all these knives there a couple days ago. You can also go online. It's Ruger.com. That's right. The people that make some great firearms also make some great knives now, thanks to Columbia River Knife and Tool. Ruger.com, Sportsman's Warehouse stores, and other stores near you. Bill, thanks so much for sharing this with our listeners here at Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
John, thank you very much.
They were our brothers, our sisters, sons and daughters. They were our parents, family, our neighbors, and our friends. How can we express the gratitude that we all owe the thousands and thousands of American veterans who have sacrificed so much for our country's freedom? It was they who stepped forward from the time this country was created to fight for everything we know about liberty and freedom. And although we celebrate their victories and console them for their losses by creating monuments and honoring them in parades, the truth is we can never do enough for the freedom they've given us. Perhaps the most important thing we can do is reach out to those veterans closest to us and simply tell them, thank you. Thank you for all you've done for freedom. All of us at Shiloh Inns would like to take this opportunity to recognize the many men and women who have served and continue to serve our country so that we will always be free. Thank you, veterans, from everybody at Shiloh Inns.
Need a lightweight camp stove for your next adventure? The new Striker Series stove from Camp Chef is the perfect solution. 2 models of this single-burner stove let you cook using propane or isobutane. The heat ring technology built into the stove's cookware lets you boil water in less than 2 minutes. And like everything else in the Camp Chef line, the Striker Series stove is built tough. If you hike, paddle, hunt, or fish and cook while you do it, you're going to love the Striker Series stove. Find it at your local sporting goods store or at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top-quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands so future generations can enjoy what we enjoy. Join the group that makes a difference. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Let's run through some upcoming events before we go. And actually, I'm just going to talk about one. I'm really excited about this. I get to be a judge at a chili cook-off taking place at the Sportsman's Warehouse store on November 21st. It's going to go on from noon to 4 p.m. Contestants include several local restaurants and several conservation organizations. So, Food Pavilion, Tacos Chava, Olive Garden are going to have some nice chili dishes out there. And so are the folks from Ducks Unlimited and the Wenatchee Sportsman's Association. In addition to sampling chili, they're going to be frying turkey. That's right. Deep fried turkey is going to be available at the store, and you get to have some of that as well. You'll also find out about buying a deep fryer if you want to get one for either Thanksgiving or Christmas. There'll be some tailgate games going on for kids of all ages, and they'll be accepting donated canned food for the Wenatchee Community Center. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, it's November 21st from noon to 4 p.m. at the East Wenatchee Sportsman's Warehouse store. And now it's time for your trivia question of the week, and we're taking you to the stars. This constellation is visible in the southern sky in the fall and winter. The stars form the shape of a hunter and is easily picked out by his belt of 3 bright stars. What is the name of this hunter of our night skies? If you think you know the answer, go to our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. You'll find a post there with the question. Give us your answer. You can also contact us through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. Simply contact us on our Contact Us page. Give us your answer. If you are correct about the name of this constellation, you are entered for a chance to win the $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. The Facebook page again, Northwestern Outdoors Radio, and the website, northwesternoutdoors.com, for your chance to win. While you're on the web, be sure to check out RenoViolaOutdoors.com. That's the home of WRVO Radio. We air there every week. We're one of 30 plus outdoors radio shows that airs on this internet station that offers 7-day-a-week outdoors radio programming. The website again is RenoViolaOutdoors.com. Give it a listen. I think you'll enjoy it. That's all for this week. I am really looking forward to getting out of this cast so I can get back in the field and do a little bit more than some easy walks. So until next time, take care. God bless. Thank you for all of you veterans who have served, and make it a point, folks, to spend some time outdoors.